Hey guys, it's that time. It's time to talk about the pilot episode of Gilmore Girls. Grab your coffee and let's sit down, or coffee at Luke's, and let's talk about episode 1, the pilot episode. Here we go. Okay guys, so, are you guys ready for this? I don't know if I'm ready for this, but what I did was I decided to start this channel because I wanted to talk about Gilmore Girls. It literally is my favorite thing to talk about, to watch, to discuss. Everything. I just live for this show, and I thought no better way to do that than literally watch episode by episode and just talk about it. Maybe some behind the scenes facts that you don't know, maybe some, I just really want to talk about it with somebody. So that's what we're going to do. I have the Gilmore Girls companion, which I got some of my facts because it does go episode by episode in here. So I've decided to write down things in there. I'll be referencing this. I will call this the Bible, the Gilmore Girls Bible. I've also decided, so I'll link the video. I just shot the video about the Eat Like a Gilmore Girls cookbook. I was actually one of the featured taste testers. My name is in this book. I got to taste the recipe. And I thought it would be fun to also cook along with the episodes. So every week, there's always at least something mentioned. Excuse me, I'm fighting a cold, guys. There's always something mentioned, some kind of food or coffee or whatever, because food is so instrumental in this show. So I thought what I will do is I will post either on Instagram or on Facebook pictures, and we will cook right along with the actual episode. So the first one I decided I'll get into that when we get into the episode. I'll show you what I cooked. But so I'm going to be referencing this a lot. I'm just going to call it the cookbook, but it's the Eat Like a Gilmore, the unofficial cookbook for fans of Gilmore Girls by Christy Carlson. And like I said, I am a featured taste tester. I am on the recipe I did or got to taste test and help kind of create and critique was on page 183. So there it is. My name is in there, right down there at the bottom, but I'll link a video. I talk all about this cookbook in right underneath. So check that out if you guys are interested. The other thing you guys are going to see quite a bit is I got this from my Stars Hollow monthly subscription box that I've been unboxing for you guys and will continue to do so. Check them out. I'll link all their information. They're amazing. But I got this cute little Luke's menu. It's a day timer, guys. It's so cute, a little planner. So this is where I've been keeping all of my notes from the show. So you guys will see this a lot. I will grab this and read from it, or I've written notes on it or anything like that. So I will always have this with me as well. You guys, I got my Luke's coffee cup. And of course, like I said, I'm going to try, I don't know if I'll always have different ones because eventually I'm going to run out. But I will always have a Gilmore Girl shirt on. I want to show this one this time. It says Honorary Gilmore Girl. And it has on here 3 stacks of books. And each one talks about one of the Gilmore Girls. So we have Guide to Yale. It talks about Rory. Or, kind of ties into Rory. Then we have 60 Best Coffees. Obviously, that's for Lorelai. And then Rules of the DAR, which is for Emily. So I did an unboxing of this on my channel. I'll link that video. It is from my Stars Hollow Monthly. I will link them. I am no way connected to them except for that I love them and I subscribe to them and I buy all their stuff. So there you go. I will link all that information down below. Let's get into talking about episode 1, season 1, the pilot episode. Okay, so I'm gonna get out my little notes here. So I've taken quite a few notes. I'm going to give you the synopsis that I found from the Bible here, the companion's guide, and then the Netflix synopsis as well. So the Netflix synopsis was read, when Rory is accepted to attend a prestigious prep school, Lorelai must swallow her pride and ask her wealthy parents for help paying the tuition, which is pretty accurate. It really does sum up the show. But what I really liked is when I got into the companion guide itself, their synopsis was a lot more in depth about the show in general. So it says Lorelai Gilmore, age 32, and her 16-year-old super brainy daughter Rory are more like friends than mother and daughter, sharing makeup and stealing each other's CDs. After trying for 2 years, now I don't know if that's ever mentioned about the 2 years, so I found that a little weird. After trying for 2 years, Lorelai has finally managed to get Rory into the exclusive prep school Chilton. But the enrollment fees is more than she can swing on her salary from managing the Independence Inn. Lorelai's estranged parents, Richard and Emily, agree to give Lorelai the money in exchange for a weekly Friday night dinner with the girls and one weekly phone call updating them on Rory's school experiences and Lorelai's life. That is never brought up again, I don't believe. When I was watching my episode again, I mean, literally this time I'm taking notes. Usually it's on a loop at my house and it's either constantly on, I'm doing the dishes, or I'm watching, or I'm doing other things, because I just like to have that on in the background because I find it so, the one-liners are so witty, or just kind of talking about it. But I don't believe that's ever mentioned again, so I found that weird that they called that out. Okay, it says, but after meeting Dean Forrester, Rory has second thoughts about going to Chilton, which leads to the girls' first major fight. That is a very accurate, kind of synopsis. I do believe it kind of gives too much away, but obviously, this is a guide to, not everyone's just going to have this book on the ready. Of course I do. But not everyone's going to have this on the ready or anything like that. So I thought it was a very nice synopsis. Okay, so you guys know it was written by Amy Sherman Palladino. And this originally air date was 10/5 of 2000. So 17 years ago is when this show kind of kicked off and was aired for the first time. So let's talk. So literally as I'm watching this show, I'm pausing, I'm taking notes. So that's why I'm kind of reading off this, so I apologize. But literally I was like rewinding, pause, stop, pause. My daughter's like, can you just finish already? I'm like, I gotta do this right. So the first thing you see is it pans down. You see the Stars Hollow sign. 1779 is when the Stars Hollow was founded. We will definitely talk more about that because they have the whole Founders Day festival coming up. But I thought it was cool that they kind of listed that 1779. I thought they had on there the exact population count. I think we see that later, so I'll reference that. But yeah, that's what I was really wanting, but they didn't show it. So I'm only trying to talk about what I saw in the episode and not go too far ahead for the people that haven't watched the show yet and are watching along with me. The first 5 words of the series are probably some of my favorite. So you see Lorelai walk into Luke's diner. She takes her coat off, grabs a coffee cup, which are on the table. They're never on the table in any other scene, but obviously pilots are shot way before they actually film the series. This is the one that they show to people to get them to want to sign on to the show to actually, you guys know, a pilot is never, it's usually shot so far and then they come back after it's been picked up and then they film the series. So obviously a lot of changes happen between that pilot to the series. But the first word, she walks up with her coffee cup to Luke and says, she's holding it like this, like, oh, it's like, please, Luke, please, please, please. Favorite line out of the whole thing for that, for the first episode, favorite line is her begging for coffee for Luke. And Luke is not stupid. He's like, how many have you had? Obviously, she's a coffee junkie, and he doesn't want to encourage. Okay. Sorry, I need a little drink. Okay. I did notice Luke had a backward baseball hat, but it had the American flag on it. I didn't think in the series you'll see in the series that moves forward, I didn't think he always wore his baseball cap backward, but he did in season 1, but it had American flag on the back, so I thought that was interesting. Luke's Diner was originally his father's hardware store, so that's why when you first pan in, you'll see all the hardware. It's not as pronounced as we go forward into the series, but you do see, the bins and the screws and the nails and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's really neat. I do like, though, how they clean it up a little bit later on in the series, but I get the effect that they were going for. When Rory comes into Luke's right after Lorelai sits down and stuff, the gentleman that leaves as Rory comes in is actually Daniel Palladino, Amy Sherman Palladino's husband. So I thought that was a cute little bit of trivia. He actually makes a couple more appearances in the actual series itself. It says, doesn't look old enough to have a daughter. I'm going to totally sidetrack right now and give you guys a little how I can tie this together. It's so funny. So my daughter and I just had our birthday, and we actually have the same birthday. She was born on my actual birthday, so we share birthdays. And we had taken a trip, and we decided to we went and saw Denali, which is Mount McKinley here in Alaska. We spent the day there, and we always, every year, we've always done this ever since she was old enough to do anything. Like, she was 5, or I can't remember, but we get these little pins that say birthday girl, and we both wear them because to her it was so much fun to share your birthday with your mom. Now, not so much, and I'll tell you why. But so we had our pins on, and we're walking along these shops, and we go into this fudge shop. Excuse me. And we decided to get some fudge. Well, the guy comes up, he goes, and he sees Victoria first. He goes, "Oh, it's your birthday." She goes, "Oh, yeah." And then he looks over at me. He goes, "Oh, it's your birthday, too." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, are you guys twins?" And Victoria looks so disgusted. And I said, "No, I'm her mom." And the guy's like, "What?" I go, "Yeah, I'm her mom." He goes, "Oh, my God." So, and I said, he starts talking. I said, "Dude, listen, I will buy some fudge." I said, we were going whitewater rafting. So I said, after we go do this, I said, I'll come back and I'll buy your fudge, So we left, we did our trip, and then we decided to go back into the shop, and he's like, "Okay." He goes, he's looking at Victoria. He goes, "How old are you?" And Victoria's like, "I'm 19. And he looks at me, and he's like, I said, "I'll tell you." I said, "I don't care." I said, "I'm 42. He goes, "Wow." He goes, "Easily look 20 years younger than what you actually are." So, doesn't look old enough to be a daughter, and she doesn't look old enough to have a daughter, which was one of my favorite lines, and I got to tie that right back, and Victoria's like, "Are you kidding me, Mom? Do we have to keep hearing this?" So, moving on. I just thought that was cute. Okay, so next you see Drella, who is Alex Borstein. That's her real name. And Drella is the one that plays the harp at the inn. Well, you guys may not know this, but Alex Borstein is actually married to Jackson Douglas, who later comes on to be Jackson Melville, the produce guy who ends up marrying Suki. And Alex Borstein was originally supposed to play Suki. There was some contracts. She was tied into another show. She couldn't get out of it. But she actually did film part of the pilot, and then she couldn't get out of contract or anything like that. So they had to recast and found Melissa McCarthy. So I just thought that was neat. You do see Drella in quite a few scenes, and then I'll point her out, she actually makes some other appearances. That's one thing you will notice a lot about this show, and I think in Amy's shows in particular, is she loves to cast people in multiple roles. Like, if she'll use you something there, and if it's only a one role or something like that, you're probably going to see them again. And I will list every time that is, I will point those out. It's amazing how many people she's done that with. So, but Alex, like I said, was the original Suki, and is married to the guy that plays Jackson. And then you'll notice Rory comes in wearing this big, huge, heavy white sweater, and she's got this adorable leather backpack that she took to school. My thing is, why does she need a new backpack? You will see in the next episode when she's actually going to Chilton, she buys a new backpack. I don't know why she actually bought one, because the leather one was adorable. But that's just me. I had to say that because I thought that was so cute. But you see that backpack. She uses it all throughout this pilot episode, but you don't ever see that backpack again. The teacher in Stars Hollow, like I said, she likes to, bring actresses or actors back. You guys will see the teacher in Stars Hollow in Stars Hollow High School. You will see that lady again as Crazy Carrie, and I'll point that out when we get to those episodes. It's way later, I think season 5 or season 4. But so yeah, Crazy Carrie is the teacher from episode 1. Another one, The Assignment. So as you're in the high school scene and you see the girls that are sitting 3 or 4 seats above Rory, and they're painting their nails, they put on the one nail polish. They're like the cool girls, the mean girls kind of is what I would say them as. The girl that is the very last girl that speaks in that episode, literally like in 4 or 5 episodes later, is going to be at Chilton. So I've never fully decided if she's supposed to be the same girl And she just went to Chilton as well, or are we just supposed to overlook that this girl is actually, like I said, here we go again, bringing it around. But yes, she doesn't have a name in this episode. I just called her assignment girl because that's kind of what she talks about. But she does later become Summer, who dates Tristan. So moving on. Okay, so that brings us to Suki in the kitchen, and we bring up our first recipe. So peach sauce. So peach sauce is actually in the actual recipe guide here. It's on page 103. Let me pull that up for you. Peach sauce is the first recipe I decided to make because it's really the only one that's talked about in this episode. I've decided to make some waffles and make the peach sauce. So I'm super excited. Like I said, I'll show you guys pictures and show you how I've done this. Like I said, I am gluten-free, so I will be changing a little bit of the recipes if I have to. This one, I don't believe I had to change anything, which was nice. But the peach sauce is the first recipe, and you guys, like I said, I will link pictures of how mine turned out. And like I said, follow along, grab the cookbook. If not, if you guys want to message me questions about anything like that, please feel free to do so about the recipe or anything like that. But peach sauce is the first one that we've done, and it is in the book itself. Okay, so next we see Rory going to Kim's Antiques, which is her best friend, Lane Kim. So I did notice, so when you walk up, you see the Kim's Antique sign. When Rory and Lane are going into the door, behind them, there's another Kim's sign, and it says the Glass Chimney, Kim's Arts and Antiques. I don't remember ever seeing that sign again. So is the name of the shop the Glass Chimney? Or is that a separate I have no idea what that was. I've never seen that again. And I don't know if we will see it. Like I said, I don't remember all these minute details. Because when I watch Gilmore Girls, I'm never like writing notes before. So this is kind of new. But I just thought that was neat. I don't remember seeing that part again. My other thing is Suki in the kitchen. How does she get anything done? They definitely played up her accident proneness and her kind of all scatterbrainness all over the place in the kitchen. They don't really touch on that as much. But if you see, I mean, those guys have to be right there with her, you know, putting out fires and moving stuff so she don't chop her hand. And I just thought that was a little out of the place. I mean, she's definitely accident prone and hurts herself quite a bit that we see, but it's never really usually that bad anymore. But definitely, I was like, how does she get anything done? I love the Rory's Going to Chilton song that Suki and Lorelai sing, and Suki, I just love Suki, guys. Rory's going to Chilton. Rory's going to Chilton. That just cracks me up. I love that. Next we see Lorelai going to her parents' house. There's no maid that answers that door. That is a running joke throughout the whole series of the maids and the circumstances with Emily and her maid. So we are going to start keeping you guys will see, I'm going to start keeping a maid count, and I will be inserting them. But right now we're at 0 still because there was no maid that answered that door, okay? So I did mention in here, and I brought this up earlier, about the Friday night dinner and weekly call. I don't remember the weekly call, so we'll have to just keep track of that. The Friday night dinner, obviously, that's a main staple of the show, but the weekly call, I don't know how long that actually goes on. I'm also going to list on here, and I'll list in the description bar as we keep going, the books that are mentioned, because the books, movies, pop culture stuff, that's big in this series. But I am going to start leaving a list, and I'll probably have something on the Facebook page. I'll make a document that we'll keep adding to. One will be for books, one will be for movies, and all that kind of stuff. And bands, I want to do bands. So you'll see those, and I'll keep updating on those. But the books that were mentioned this time, we talked about Moby Dick, how that was her first Melville that she read. And then Madame Bovary was the other one. So those are the 2 books, and I've never read either one of those. I've tried Moby Dick a couple times. Madame Bovary, I've never read that one either. So, but those are the 2. The movie that was mentioned this time was Rosemary's Baby. Yet again, that's another one I haven't really seen. I'm not a big horror fan, but I know it's something about Rosemary's Baby and the Devil Baby or something. I don't know. But those are the ones that were listed. Dean talks about how he's moved from Chicago. That's going to come up in a later episode that I'll talk about. But just remember that he comes from Chicago. Okay? So I thought that was neat. You do, when we're back at Luke's, you see the nice Williams Hardware sign up there. I thought that was really neat. You see Lorelai eating a salad. She doesn't eat salad. She's a junk food junkie and burgers and, that kind of thing. That's an ongoing thing. And it's even referenced how she doesn't eat a lot of salad. So I just took note, like I said. And I understand, I'm trying not to go too far forward, but obviously I've seen the show enough that I know certain little things. So things I just want you to try to remember. And like I said, I'll definitely be bringing them back and be like, hey, remember in episode 1, I told you. So just keep that in mind. But she's eating a salad. One of my favorite Luke quotes from this one is, red meat can kill you. I love that. Luke is a very healthy eater. I'll just say that. He's very healthy. All right. After Lorelai finds out about Dean, we hear, does he have a motorcycle? Because if you're going to throw your life away, he better have a motorcycle. We'll learn later if Dean has a motorcycle or not, and why that is brought up. So that's another quote that gets bring back. I will say, they have a very good track record of bringing things full circle. If they talk about something, you will know why, and they reference it again. So I really do like that about the series. Like I said, Amy Sherman Palladino's writing skills are amazing. She said in interviews, she writes not thinking that her audience is stupid. She doesn't talk down to us. That's why all the pop culture references or all the wittiness that she does, she doesn't talk down to audiences. She knows we're smart individuals, and she plays on that, and I love the writing skills. We talk, the very first scene where you see Rory and Lorelai, she talks about the Macy Gray CD, and that Lorelai had to borrow it, which means there was only one CD. So when they have their big fight and Rory turns it on and starts that one song, and then Lorelai goes in the opposite room and hits it, and it turns on the same song, but not at the same place, so I don't think it's on the radio. How are they both listening to it if they had to borrow each other's CD? I'm just saying. I know, she's definitely not tech savvy enough to be able to make a copy of a CD. So I'm just saying. That was a little boo-boo, I think. Things I noticed, I'm sorry. And then Suki, we're back in the kitchen, and she goes, oh God, I killed a Viking. A Viking is a very, very expensive stove. So yeah, for her to kill a Viking, that was a big thing. Now we're back at the Friday night dinner, the first one, and we have our first maid count. We are up to 1 maid. We see the maid serve the food. Yet again, she did not answer the door, but she did serve the food. So we're at 1 for maid count so far. This is the first we hear of Rory's father, Christopher, and how he's in California. That's something good to know, and that Richard believes he is doing very well. So he's very, very well. Internet startup business in California. I love at the end, you do see some mild flirting between Luke and Lorelai right at the end of the episode. There's definitely some kind of attraction there, and I love how the series takes that and handles it all throughout the whole series itself, so that's good. And at the very last shot, as they're panning out and you see the outside of Luke's diner, you see the Williams Hardware, and then you see the traditional Luke's symbol there with the coffee cup. You do see that sign hanging, and I thought that was great that they actually showed both. And they do reference later on in the episode how there's 2 signs, or later on in the series how there's 2 signs. So I thought that was nice too. But there you go. That's all the ones that I just wrote down. Those were my, things that I noticed. So then I pulled out my old Gilmore Girls Bible, and I kind of went through and decided to write some facts down real quick. So I do know that this was Alexis Bledell's first real acting role. That's the gal that plays Rory. It was her first acting role ever, so I thought that was great. A side note, Ed Herman, the one who plays Richard, the grandfather, I did not know this for the longest time. I didn't piece it together till I read it somewhere. But Edward Herman was in the movie Annie, like the big screen version Annie, back in the, 80s, I think it was. He was President Franklin Roosevelt, where Annie does a little song and dance with him, and where Daddy Warbucks takes her to meet the president. That was him. I did not know that for the longest time. Another little bit of trivia. Luke's role was originally supposed to be played by a woman named, and they were going to name the character Daisy. But the executives at Warner Brothers or wherever it was said that they wanted more males in the actual series, so then that's how Luke became a man. And it was supposed to be, I think it was going to be Dukes. They went from Daisy to Dukes, and then it became Luke's, and which is better because Luke and Lorelai flow together a lot better than Lorelai and Duke. So there you go. And they reference Duke in later episodes. Just a little tidbit. I thought this was kind of neat, so I'm going to read you this. This I got from the Bible as well. It says, to save on production costs, it was filmed in Toronto, which that's very well known that it was filmed in Canada. It was filmed in Toronto's suburb of Unionville in Markham, Ontario. Though the show would relocate to the Warner Brothers lot once it went to series, its time in Unionville would be greatly influenced the Burbank sets. A dog breeder's house filled in for the Gilmore's mansion. Who knew? A hardware store for Luke's diner, which would later inspire the entire backstory for Luke's place of business. So I thought that was really neat. That's why it really did look like a hardware store. And another little tidbit I found was, what's his name? Jared Padalecki, the one who plays Dean. He was not the original person that was supposed to be in that role. It was supposed to be this guy named Nathan Wetherington. Now, are you ready for this? Nathan Wetherington was actually once in the Blue Man Group. He played drums in the Blue Man Group. I just thought that was weird. How that kind of would go together, I have no idea. But that's the last little tidbit or trivia. If you guys know of anything from episode 1 and you guys have any facts or tips, please share them down below. Obviously, I didn't leak everything, you know. I just kind of found the ones that I thought were interesting or stuff like that. But hey, if there's something else you guys know of, or let's start conversation down below, I think that would be great. Like I said, that's the whole reason I'm doing this channel, is to talk Gilmore Girls with you guys. So leave anything down below. I will reference or link anything I've talked about, any books, anything like that in the description bar. Facebook, Instagram, so we can do recipes. Yeah, like I said, Stars Hollow Monthly, where I get my t-shirts, anything like that. I will reference and leave it all in the description bar. I would really like it if you guys would subscribe and come on this journey with me. I love talking Gilmore Girls, and to me, the more the merrier. If you guys are interested, I do have another beauty channel that I will link separately too. I'm not going to reference that as often because literally, I mean, that's what this channel is for my Gilmore Girls. You know, it's a total side note. I just wanted to have fun. I love, like I said, I literally watch this on a loop all the time. And finally, I just said, you know what? I know there's got to be somebody else out there like me. Or maybe somebody that's never saw the series and wants to know about it. Watch it along with me. I think it would be great. I will link the cookbook. I highly recommend this cookbook. Like I said, some of the recipes, I've made quite a few of them, but I haven't made all of them. So that's why I'm really excited to make the recipes as we're watching the episodes, because I really do want to work my way through that book. So, all right, guys, I really appreciate it. Give this video a thumbs up. If you like me, Gilmore Girls, anything that I'm doing, I highly appreciate it. Come on back, guys. Subscribe. I will be posting videos. Like I said, I'll be doing the actual synopsis or break down the episodes weekly, so that way you guys can watch them along with me. Or if you get, like I said, but there'll be bonus videos all the time. Like I said, my Stars Hollow Monthly unboxings, or anything else Gilmore inspired that I decide to do, I'll be posting those along as well. But definitely come back weekly, guys, so you guys can watch, talk, live all Gilmore Girls. And I will see you next time for Coffee at Luke's. Bye, guys.